Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the Almaden Valley, California real estate market analysis for March 2009. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro, and I also happen to be the CEO and president of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services. If you'd like to get in contact with me, see any of my other video presentations on various markets that I serve, or listen to any of my weekly podcasts, or read any articles that I've written on the subject of real estate, please feel free to find those at www.soldbyrobert.com. You can also send me emails at robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you prefer to call me directly, just feel free to dial 408-852-0525. And if you prefer to chat online, you can find me on AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, or Yahoo IM with the screen name The Rebel Broker. And for Skype users, please use the screen name Rebel Broker. Referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying or selling or investing in real estate in the Silicon Valley area, please feel free to get in touch. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. If you're someone who lives outside of the Silicon Valley area, or you're interested in buying, selling, or investing anywhere in the United States, get in touch with me. Let me know what your goals all are, and I will find the right agent for you where you need them. Now let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the supply and demand numbers for Almaden Valley for March of 2009. Now this is just for the month of March, going back to 1999, so there's no seasonal influences here. Anything that makes these numbers change are strictly market numbers, and you can see that we have had the general increase in inventory starting in 2007. Almaden Valley actually reacted a little bit late to the market, and most of our markets started to see decline or increases in inventory as far as this specific statistic back in late 2005, early 2006. Now, inventory is actually up 47.87% from the same time last year. So from March of 2008 to March of 2009, that's a 47.87% increase. That's 45 more homes on the market in Almaden Valley than at the same time last year, for a grand total of 139 homes currently on the market in Almaden. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the number of homes that were listed in the month of March. You can see this has also gone up. Let's see, new listings are up 42.22% in Almaden Valley. That's 19 more homes listed in the month of March of 2009 and the month of March of 2008. That gives us a grand total of 64 homes that were listed in the month of March. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the number of homes that were sold. We can see we've actually had some pretty disappointing performance here in terms of sold homes. Sales are down 15.38%. That's 2 fewer homes sold in March 09 than March 08. That gave us a grand total of 11 homes sold in Almaden Valley. Now, a lot of the general information here that we're seeing for Almaden Valley is a little bit of a transitionary time here for Almaden Valley. If you think back to some of the last few months' worth of market analysis, actually numbers were looking pretty good for Almaden Valley. In general, the trends were looking good. Inventory and solds numbers were actually relating pretty well to one another. Not so much this month. Things have actually gotten a little bit better this month as far as the ratio is concerned. And what the ratio tells us, it really gives us two ways of looking at the market. One, how long would it take us to sell all the homes we currently have in the inventory? Or two, if you're a seller, it's a way of thinking of it as a competition number. For every home that sells, how many homes are trying to get sold? Now, this month, that number stands at 12.6. So depending on how you want to look at it, you can think of it as either a little over 12 and a half months to sell all the homes currently in inventory if the sales numbers and inventory numbers froze where they are now. Or if you're a seller, think that for every home that sells, and that hopefully that's your home, there are about 12 and a half other homes trying to get sold. So that's a very high number. It indicates a lot of competition. The higher the number, the greater it is a buyer's market, typically. But we're going to see some numbers coming up that kind of contradict that, which is a little bit bizarre. And to be honest with you, I don't have a great theory as to why that is. But maybe we can come up with something as we look further into these numbers. Now, last month, that number was at 13, so it's actually gotten a little bit better. What's interesting, though, is that the county number for this month was at 7.19. Almaden Valley is not performing as well as the county in general, which is a little bit of a surprise, since Almaden oftentimes will do better than the county as a whole. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these same supply and demand numbers, but just looking back month to month. So there are seasonal influences in play when we look at these numbers, so just keep those in mind as we look. Now this is going back month to month all the way to October of 07. That way we can get a little bit of perspective on where we've been, and with that, hopefully project where we might end up going. Now, you can see inventory numbers clearly here are on their way up on average. The averaging line there just sort of gives us the slope of the increase. Now, we look here to February and March, we can see we've had a pretty steady increase ever since December. If we look back to the same time last year, same kind of trend. December, January, February, March, steady increases, with the increase having started in November of 07. Excuse me, no, that's not correct. December of 07. And moving on. So very similar to last year. So what does that tell us? Well, if we can say that the general trend of increase is going to be the same as it was last year, then that would mean that the upcoming months would indicate either a flattening or slightly increasing inventory that then won't start to decrease until we get into July and August. I don't see any reason or any market influences that would change that. Anecdotally, I'm seeing more action on the part of buyers being out there, so we may actually see the inventory number drop a little bit sooner and a little bit more on a month-to-month basis as we head further into the summer, assuming these folks are out here to buy for the summer season. I think a lot of folks are coming out now to buy in March to sort of beat the summer season. So we may see an increase in March and April as folks hope that they can take a deal on something before we actually get into the summer months, which are being interpreted by some buyers as a more competitive time to buy property. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what the change has been from February to March. We've actually seen an increase in inventory of 18.8%. That's 22 more homes listed for sale in the inventory in the month of March than we had in the month of February. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the homes that were listed. We'll look again at the past to see if we can sort of divine where we might be going with this. You can see the general trend of increasing listings on a per-month basis. Last month was a bit less. We actually had a 16.36% increase in the number of homes listed in Almaden Valley. That's 9 more homes listed in March than were listed in February. So what does this show us as far as trends? Well, if we look back to March again of 08, we can see we saw a general trend of increase from December all the way on up. Now, we saw the same thing this year, but what's kind of a shocker is much more dramatic increases. Look at that dramatic jump from December to January. Now, we saw a pretty big jump between December and January of last year. The number pretty much doubled plus a couple last year. This year, it almost tripled in listings, which is a little bit of a shock. We actually started at about the same place in December. The number of homes listed were about the same in December of 07 as in December of 08, but then saw a dramatic increase in January. Oftentimes, if you see a big discrepancy like that in terms of a big ramp-up of listings, it could be a variety of things. It could be foreclosures, but that doesn't really hold up when you take a look at the number of foreclosures and short sales that are selling in Almaden Valley. So the other explanation could be folks seeing in their own neighborhoods drops in prices that they hadn't seen before. Usually when the prices first start to drop, we see a big jump for folks to sell their homes because they think that the market may go down even further and they want to take their deal now while they can, get as much cash as they possibly can. What's often interesting about that is it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. People go ahead and jump onto the market to put their house on, and that deflates home prices because there's just such a glut of inventory of them. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the sales numbers for Almaden Valley. We can see they've been in steady decline. It's pretty hard to fight that averaging slope that we've got there on the solds. Relatively flat from last month. In fact, only 1 more home sold in March than in February. That was only a 10% increase. If we look back to last year, what did we see? Well, we saw an increase in March last year that was a little bit more marked. In the months leading up to February, what did we see? We actually saw a decrease between January and February of last year. This year, we saw an increase between January and February. So we're not seeing a lot of consistency in the homes that are getting sold. We had much better selling seasons, for instance, in October and November of last year than we had in October and November of 08. So much more of a depressed sales situation. So what does that tell us? Well, last year, after March, we saw increases in sales. Now, I think we'll probably see increases in sale, but because of the lackluster performance we've been seeing, my estimation would be that we're not going to see as dramatic an increase in sales in the coming months as we've seen, as we saw last year in 08. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the short sale and foreclosure situation. First, we'll take a look at what was happening last month. Now, last month, we had 80% of the homes that sold were conventional, and that's actually very good as far as this is concerned. This statistic is concerned, as the county has had a far greater percentage. Still more than half of the homes sold in general in the county were either foreclosures or short sales. However, in Almaden Valley, that's just not the case. In fact, none of the homes sold last month were short sales. 20% of the ones sold were foreclosures. More interesting this month, 100%. Oh, I'm sorry. That is absolutely wrong. 100% of them were not foreclosures. 0% of them were foreclosures. 100% of them were conventionally sold homes. I apologize for that. The wrong label was placed there. But the point to take away from here is there's not a single foreclosure or short sale that's sold in the month of March in Almaden Valley. And that's very good news. I mean, that's what's really driving them. And this may be one reason why some of these other numbers are a little bit off. Foreclosures and short sales are the primary drivers of the buyer's market right now. I have some buyers that have automated searches running on my website at www.soldbyrobert.com that are looking only for short sales and foreclosures. Now, I send off a little newsletter. Anyone who has one of these types of searches set up on my website, I send them an email letting them know how strongly I feel about not doing that. Short sales and foreclosures, fine, search them, but don't make it a search that only gives you results for those types of properties, because the bottom line is I've been able to negotiate some fantastic deals on conventionally sold homes that are on par with the prices folks are paying for foreclosures and short sales without any of the associated headaches with short sales and foreclosures. So I'm encouraging folks to not limit themselves to those two things, but I think that dynamic of the buying market right now is negatively affecting the Almaden Valley market artificially, because people aren't seeing short sales and foreclosures. So the perception on the part of a lot of buyers is there are no great deals to be had in Almaden Valley. And, the reality is that's just plain old not true. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the home prices. This has definitely been a number that has been hit. It hasn't been hit as hard as some areas, but we've definitely seen turned a corner, so to speak, on that. Now, the trend has been down. It's not. It may look a little depressing if you're someone who owns a house in Almaden Valley, but the reality is this is not that bad. If you look at the amount that's come down, there are other communities, for instance, Morgan Hill and some other areas, Gilroy, for instance, in the South Valley, some areas up in the north end of Santa Clara County, dramatically hit. Huge losses in value since 2006, 2007. So this is actually pretty robust in terms of how it's managed to resist the downward trend in average sales price. Now, the average home price is only down 14.96% from the same time last year. We've got communities where on a year-to-year basis they've lost more like 30%, so that's actually not so bad. That's a dollar amount of $171,852, and that gave us an average home price of $976,838, and I believe that brings us to the point where we are, I don't know if that's true for the month. I think it's true for the month. No, that happened a while ago. We went just below the $1 million mark, I think, a few months ago, but the median, let's go ahead and take a look at where that is sitting right now. You can see that's also dropped as well, and we'll talk in a second about what the median actually tells you, but the median has dropped 19.02%, so it's actually dropped down more than the average sales price. That's a dollar change of $195,000, median price holding at $830,000. Now, what is the median price telling you? Well, you can see that what's happening is homes priced below the average are more of the homes that sold in the month of March were clustered below the average price than above it. If you look back, for instance, to the years of 2004, 2003, 2002, they were much closer. The market was much more robust, and the average was much more of a true average. It was where you were seeing the number of homes being sold being closer to the average price. So now we can see a disparity there. There tends to be more homes below the average price that are selling in the current market. Now, what other things do we want to know about home prices for the month of March? Well, the highest priced single-family residential home in Almaden Valley was at 6667 Crystal Springs Drive. That sold for $1,413,000. Its list price was $1,399,000. And no, I did not get those numbers backward. That home did sell for above asking price. Not horribly unusual for Almaden Valley for a lot of these properties. That was only on the market for 13 days. We're going to have some very interesting news on the days on market coming up here pretty soon, so make sure and stay tuned for that. Now, the lowest single-family residential home price was on 6364 Lillian Way. That sold for $665,000. It was listed for $699,000, and that was on the market for 22 days. Really very healthy in terms of how many days on market these homes have been spending. Now, the average price per square foot was $447.98. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually up from last month, so that's relatively good news. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at home prices for past months. This is now just calendar months back. We're not looking back just at the month of March, going back to 1999 any longer. Now, these are the average sales prices, and you can see that we've seen a pretty steady decline on average. Now, the average home price, again, was holding at $976,838. The price changed from February of 09 to March of 09, down 3.93%. That's a $39,939 drop. Median price change down 8.79%. That's an $80,000 drop in price. And we had 11 homes that sold. Let's go ahead and take a look at that median in comparison. We can see how it's been performing. That's pretty much on average what we've been seeing over the last year as far as the difference between the two. And I think in the current market, it's normal that you'll see a larger number of the homes selling being below the average price. So I don't find anything really alarming there that anyone needs to really worry about. Now, here's the interesting information on days to sell. I've got a couple of things to tell you about days to sell. One of them is a little bit more statistical oriented, and another one is just unique to Almaden Valley. It's really the first community I've seen that's in this particular situation. Now, first, we'll just hit the highlights here to start off. Now, the average days on market was 33 days, and what's sort of shocking about that number is it's artificially high given the properties that sold this month. So bear with me for a second, and we'll cover all of that. The days to sell is down 59.76%. That's 49 fewer days to get a home sold in March of 2009 than March of 2008. So this is telling you that homes are clearly selling out there. Now, the lowest days on market was 0. One home sold before it got onto the multiple listing service. So the agent had a buyer for it before they ever even had a chance to put it on the multiple listing service. That's something that usually happens in more robust markets. A little bit of a surprise here. What's interesting is that the longest days on market was 226 days. However, the next highest number after 226 days was 32 days. So the vast majority of homes were not taking 226 days to sell. So if we were to eliminate that 226 days, the average days to sell would be more like 27 days, 28 days, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, let me break it down to you by time frame here. One home sold in 0 days, meaning it sold before it ever even got into the MLS. 2 homes sold in 1 to 7 days. 5 homes sold in 8 to 30 days. 2 homes sold in 31 to 90 days. None of the homes sold in 90 to 180 days, and 1 home sold in 180 days and over 180 days. So we only had 1 home that it took over 180 days to sell. 60% of the homes that sold in less than 30 days. Now, that's pretty good performance, and it's actually of the areas I choose to serve, that's the best statistic that we've seen as far as how many days it's taking to get a home sold. So what's interesting is that the inventory is really going up, that the homes that are selling pretty quickly. Folks are obviously coming out to Almaden, and we clearly have a challenge here as far as attracting buyers to this market. My suspicion is primarily because it has no short sales and foreclosures, but they are definitely snapping up homes that are great in their price range. And this is another thing that makes it so very important to get your home put together properly for marketing. You need to grab the attention of the folks that are out there. And remember, we've got a lot of folks competing for your eyes out there. If you'll think back to the ratio I talked about, you've got 12 other properties you're competing with if you're a seller. So you have to be the standout home. There's plenty of beautiful homes in Almaden, but you really need to be the standout. And if you are, you're selling quickly. The people are buying the houses right up. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out about days to sell is, as most of you, anyone who listens to my presentations knows that I like to report the cumulative days to sell. Now, the way the MLS system used to report numbers is they'd break it down into 2 separate numbers. One was days on market, and one was cumulative days on market. Cumulative days on market would be days that took into account the fact that some agents relist a property. When an agent relists a property, the days on market gets reset to 0. But the cumulative days on market does not get reset. I know that all sounds a little goofy. Why would you do it that way? There's a long and very stupid story that goes along with that I'll save for another time. Or you can just go to my website at www.soldbyrobert.com, go to the most popular article that I've ever written, or just do a search on relisting, and you'll find out why this stupid situation exists. But anyway, the problem is that most pundits look at the days on market number, which is an artificially low number. If you're someone trying to sell your home and you start trying to sell it on January 1st and you end up selling it on December 31st of that year, if you relisted it in July, it's only going to show that your home was on the market for 6 months as far as the days on market is concerned. However, even if you relisted it, took it off the market for about 30 days in the middle of the year, the cumulative days on market would still show 365 days. It would still show 12 months that you tried to get that home sold. So the cumulative days on market is much more of a realistic number if you're sitting in the seat of a seller trying to figure out or plan or anticipate how long it might take to get your home sold. So that's why I prefer cumulative days on market. Now, why am I explaining this to you? Well, as of yesterday, the multiple listing service that I work with eliminated the specific entry for cumulative days on market. And now there's only one number there that says days on market. Now, I've tried to determine what that number actually is. Is it the same old days on market number, or is it the new, or is it the more preferred by me cumulative days on market? This number here is what was recorded as the days on market, and it's so low it has me worried. We're seeing such a strange low number here, but I went back and manually checked every property, and none of them were relisted properties. So it could. This is a good number. In other words, I've confirmed that this is a good number by doing some manual checking. But just to warn you, if you listen to my other presentations, they all have this same issue, and literally it was all done in the last 24 hours. I'm still trying to get more information on that, and I'll probably end up writing an article on it to clarify it, but I just wanted to point that out here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these same numbers just in past months. Man, I hope I didn't lose too many of you with a little bit of a goofy detail tangent there, but anyway, I do what I can. All right, so let's go ahead and look back all the way to October of 07, and these are the days to sell numbers and see what sort of trend we've seen. We've seen a general increase with a pretty dramatic decrease over the last 3 months. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. I'm a little surprised by the days on market numbers we saw for this month. It's dramatically short, particularly given what's going on in the other areas, but also strange because we have so much inventory and such low sales. So we'll see what's going on. Normally, I think one way to explain this might be that we do have fewer buyers, we do have lower sales, and folks are only while folks are only buying homes that are the tops in their category, so to speak, or in their price range. They're buying them quickly when they're good properties at a good price. So it may be at some point and probably what will happen is when sales do increase, we'll see a corresponding increase in days on market as we sell off some inventory that's been on the market for a little bit longer. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the regional distribution of the homes that sold in Almaden Valley. Nothing too extraordinary here. It's pretty normal to see properties tending to sell up towards the northwestern end of Almaden Valley. As you get further into Almaden Valley, that commute gets a little bit longer, and some folks are put off a little bit by that. So you usually see Camden, if you just draw sort of a diagonal line there that kind of crosses Camden and all the way over to Hillcrest Drive, and everything's usually a little bit north of that. So that's very normal. Some beautiful areas down there in the southern end of Almaden Valley, though. If anyone's interested in finding out more about those properties, get in touch. I'll be happy to send you whatever listings are available. Now, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch these market presentations. If you'd like to go to my website, you can find that at www.soldbyrobert.com. If you'd like to get in touch with me via email, send those to robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you'd prefer to call me on the phone, just dial 408-852-0525. You can also use AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, Yahoo IM to get in contact with me. Just put in the screen name The Rebel Broker. And for Skype users, put in Rebel Broker, and you'll get me that way. Again, referrals are always appreciated. If anyone is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate in Silicon Valley, please feel free to get in touch, and I'll help you any way I can. If you're outside of the area, get in touch with me. Tell me what you're looking for and how you want to get involved in it, whether it's an investment for you or a purchase of your home, or if you need to sell your home. I'll find the perfect agent for your needs. Thanks again, and I will talk to you all next time.